And we are live. I hope you guys are able to hear me. It's my first time using this mic, so I don't know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me clearly, you guys are gonna tell me. Welcome to the life. Welcome to the life. I haven't done this in a long time, and I think maybe the last time I did a live was like maybe a month back, actually. So tell me, welcome Crystal A, welcome Loon. Thanks for joining. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? Guys, tell me if you can hear me and tell me if you can hear me clearly. No, I sound perfect. No, thank you, because that was the point. Like that was the point. So I've been thinking a lot lately about existence, right? About the fact that we exist and we still don't know anything, right? So what scares me is, what if no matter what realm you exist in, no matter what experience you'll be having, you will never know anything. Like consciousness can never truly understand itself, right? Like you could never truly understand what you are. We're told that the universe keeps on expanding. Thanks for the super thanks. Yaramaya. Yeah, thank. I hope I pronounced the name right. We're told that the universe keeps on expanding, but chances are the universe is actually infinite. Like it's not always expanding; it's just infinite. Like you could never be outside of the universe. So what if you could never be outside of consciousness itself? What if you will forever be conscious without understanding what consciousness is? Because to understand what consciousness is, you must be able to zoom out of awareness itself. You get what I'm saying? And really understand why you exist, what existence is. Thanks for the super thanks, finding gnosis. Thanks. So you could never like actually zoom out of awareness itself. So you are conscious, but without understanding what consciousness is. And that was infinite, right? Like that's never going to end. Like you will be conscious forever. That is my worst fear. And you will never experience death. So whenever you experience something that you consider to be death, it's not really death. Like from your perspective, it won't be death. It will be like waking up from a dream, or in your direct experience, whatever caused your death to happen never happens. And you might say, no, Benedict, you might be wrong about this because obviously I was born, right? So that means that that's where life started, right? So obviously, um, quantum immortality cannot be a thing because I remember being born. Oh, I mean, you don't actually remember being born, but you feel that you were born. So here's where it gets complicated. When you were young, when you were a kid, you never truly questioned why you exist. Like that's not what you were. Those are not the questions that you were asking yourself. It's almost as if you already made assumptions, right? It's almost as if you had memories even when you were a kid. Like you actually had memories that, as you got older, maybe you kept on forgetting. So that's why you never really ask yourself, what am I, right? If someone created a robot that became sentient, it will ask itself a lot of questions. What am I mean, that's actually the first thing that you need to do. And that is why I'm surprised that a lot of people don't ask themselves these questions. As we become more and more aware, we need to be asking ourselves, what is this? What is existence? What am I? Why do I exist? Where do I come from? What created me? You know what I'm saying? But you never ask yourself those questions. You just kept getting old, making assumptions as if you knew something. Babies look at you like they know something, right? So it's almost as if you knew something. And I think it's weird that when babies are born, they cry. I think it's weird. Like, why don't they laugh? What makes them cry? Are they in pain when they're born, or they're just remembering something, right? Can you imagine if you kind of like, in the beginning, you kind of like remember that you were alive as someone else, but then you kept on forgetting. Like the same way that, like, when you wake up from a nightmare, ever had a nightmare that was so bad that it actually wakes you up and you wake up scared? Remember when you were a kid, you would have a nightmare and you'll actually wake up scared. Sometimes you will even cry, right? But after waking up, a couple of minutes after waking up, you would forget. Like, you keep on forgetting. Maybe you just remember the concept of the dream. Like, oh, I dreamt that I was being chased by this monster, but that's it. Like, you don't remember everything. It's like every second you are forgetting, you're forgetting, you're forgetting. So what if when you're born, you kind of like remember? I mean, you feel like you were born, but it's not. I will explain why um quantum immortality scares me, and why you shouldn't think of birth the way that you think of it. Um, so when you're born, you kind of like remember something that happened to you, something that caused your death, and but then you keep on forgetting, keep on forgetting, you keep on forgetting, you keep on forgetting. As the nurses are holding you, playing with you, you keep on forgetting, you keep on forgetting, and you end up kind of forgetting a lot of what happened in the past. And as you get older, you keep on forgetting, you keep on forgetting, you keep on forgetting. And as the matrix consumes you, right? It's kind of like the process of wiping off your memories is not instant. It's not like when you're born, you just forget. It's not actually instant. It's something that is continuous until you forget completely, and this realm consumes you completely, right? So what if quantum immortality is like that sometimes, especially when you incarnate in realms like this, right? And sometimes you find that uh you actually continue to exist even in situations where you could have died. Like, ever wondered why you're still alive? Like, when you look at the things that you've been through, when you look at the accidents that are happening to people, people are dying every day, people get sick. What if every time when you're about to die, you actually do die from other people's perspectives? So you actually have died before from other people's perspective, but because you are eternal as consciousness, you continue to exist without knowing that there's a parallel reality where you actually died. So that's what really scared me, right? That's what really, really, really scares me. And that happens forever. Maybe when you are born as a baby, something of that nature happens, like what you consider to be death actually does happen, but you are still continuing to exist. So you call that reincarnation. You're like, oh, I've reincarnated back to earth, but it's not really that. It's like consciousness exists forever. So it always has to be experiencing something, the same way that, like, when you're dreaming, you're always experiencing something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, and I've had so many people say that you can actually be unconscious. I remember in 2020, was it 2023? No, it was last year, actually. Last year around March. Yeah. I fainted. It was the first time that happened to me. I was talking to this girl. Uh, the next thing I remember is my friend waking me up. It's like, yo, he called me by my, real name, Klantla. I mean, even Benedictine is my real name, but I mean, like, the name that everyone knows. "Ah, Klantla, are you okay, bro?" And I opened my eyes and I'm like, what the hell? You know, I don't remember anything happening. It felt very, it was like instant, right? But here's the thing, I think we can never not be aware of something. I think that when you are in deep sleep, like deep, deep sleep, you still dream, you just don't remember your dreams. So to you, it feels like you were not conscious at all. You see, like, you remember your dreams when you are having these dreams, but you're not in uh heavy deep sleep, right? So you remember. So when you faint, it feels like you weren't experiencing anything because you were in real deep sleep. You were close to death, basically. So it feels like you were not conscious of anything. But the thing is, you're always conscious. You are forever conscious. You're forever having an experience, and that's what really scares me. Because think about this, man. Think about all the things that you've been through as a conscious being, right? Think about the things that other people are going through, things that scare you. You're like, ish, you know, eh, okay, my life maybe sucks, but at least I have a home. There's someone else who's homeless, right? So if you're conscious forever, it means you're going to experience being homeless at some point. You're going to have an experience where you are actually homeless, right? You're going to have an experience where you are actually in um, concentration camp, right? You're going to have an experience where you end up getting arrested. You end up in jail, or you end up in a horrible accident. You know what I'm saying? That's what really scares. That's what scares me more than reincarnation, because reincarnation. Uh, no, let me not even say reincarnation, but I would say being stuck on a loop, right? Like being born, dying, and experiencing the same thing that I've experienced before. Because what I've experienced, even though things weren't great, but can you imagine having to experience every horror that a human consciousness can experience, or consciousness itself can experience? So here's the thing: you would experience what aliens would experience, right? Not just humans. You Because sometimes you'd you maybe experience life from the perspective of a chicken. Sometimes you'll experience life from the perspective of a snake. Sometimes you'll experience life from perspective of a monkey that's in a cage. You get what I'm saying? Because you're conscious forever. And that's why I don't think reincarnation will actually be possible. Like, you just continue to exist, and maybe you will have experiences that are similar to the experiences that you've had. Ever had a dream that was similar to what you experienced in real life, but there were some few minor details that were not the same, right? Like, for an example, let's say someone died and you attended their funeral. So things kind of happen the way that they happen, but there are some few things that are different, right? So I think consciousness is able to do that. It's able to retell stories to itself, which is crazy. So some of the things that you have experienced, consciousness will retell the stories. The same way that if you've watched the movie, the last Matrix movie, it's um, uh, Matrix 4. I like how it starts when they were um when that lady was running the same way that Trinity was running away from agents when the first Matrix movie started. So you could tell that the same thing is happening, but in a different way with different characters, right? So it's not exactly the same. It's kind of like it's the story is being told, but in a different way. So you find that that's what happens. Like, consciousness keeps on retelling the same stories, but in different ways. So that's, if you wanna believe in reincarnation, I would say that would be reincarnation, not you experiencing this again, or you coming back to this realm, and it's exactly as it is, right? Like, earth is exactly as it is. There's Donald Trump is president in America. There's your friend is still gonna be existing somewhere. Like, I think you go to a realm that's different from this, where things will be different, right? Like, there will be things that will actually be different, right? So I think that's what reincarnation will be like, because I don't think consciousness can recreate the same story the way that it was. Do you understand? Just like the way that you remember the things that have happened. Thanks for the super thanks, finding gnosis. How are folk reacting to your videos in real life? I love the fact that now we're doing this in real time, and this is what I want to do more and more. I think it's actually be better this way. But yeah, I don't think consciousness will be able to retell a story perfectly. You understand what I'm saying? The same way that when something happens to you, you don't remember it perfectly, right? Like, there will be some few things that you won't remember about what has happened. So consciousness cannot retell the same story as it happened. It will leave some minor details or add some minor details to the story. So it will keep on recreating the stories that you've experienced, but there will be some few things that are different. So that will be reincarnation. So that's what really scares me. It scares me than what people call reincarnation, right? Like your soul coming back here, you know, and you learning your lessons, because that's what some people believe, that you are learning lessons. It's like, no, this is not the most effective way to learn. We have to separate torture from learning, right? Like you gotta separate torture from learning. Of course, if you're being tortured, there will be something that you will begin to understand that you never understood before, but it doesn't mean that you are actually being tortured so that you will learn. Do you get what I'm saying? um so that's what really scares me, because if I'm conscious forever, that means that I'm gonna have to experience everything that can be experienced, and it's never gonna end. So this means that consciousness is not gonna keep on, like it's gonna keep on retelling some stories, but it will also have to create new stories, right? So think of new ways to suffer. Basically, there are ways that you could suffer that you never actually thought of. I remember when I watched, there's this episode of Black Mirror. So there's this concept, and it just, I forgot the name of the episode. So let's say someone commits a crime. So in this episode, this guy, and I think his story was really tragic, right? So he was married to this lady. um she ended up cheating on him with her boss. So they had this technology that you can use to block people in real life, right? Like if you don't like Benedict, you can actually block him in real life. Like whatever he says, you don't hear him, you don't even see him. Like you will see like something that's covering him, but you don't see his face or even hear what he's saying. So you can see that there's a human there, but it's a human that I blocked. That's it. They can't say anything to you. So they had that kind of technology. So yeah, so this lady cheats on him, and she becomes pregnant, and she knew that the baby was not his. So she stopped talking to him. She's tried to talk to her because he thought he was the father. She didn't want to explain to him what really happened. Uh, until 2 years later, she blocked him. Actually, she ended up blocking him until 2 years later, when he went to her father's house, because he heard that she died. So he went to her father's house to see his daughter. He found out that the baby is Chinese. So when he went inside the house, and he was angry, he started to, you know, talk to the father. How could you do this to me? And then a fight broke up, and he ended up accidentally killing the father. So his punishment was that he was going to be put inside a simulation where he will experience, like it will be a jail basically. Like he's alone. I think if I remember correctly, it was a it was somewhere where there was nothing basically. He's just conscious. So it's white, it's infinite whiteness. There's no one that he can talk to. He cannot get out. He doesn't know how to get out. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, can you imagine if consciousness keeps on creating new ways that conscious beings can suffer? Because we do suffer a lot. That's what really scares me. Because if quantum immortality is possible, it means consciousness will keep on reinventing new ways for people to suffer. Is it? And it's getting there. With the simulation, like when you look at what's already possible now, it's actually, it makes sense to think that in the future, people won't go to real prisons. Like, there will actually be uh, like hooked on some, like they will actually be put inside a simulation. You find that a person goes to a prison for like a day, but they will experience life in that simulation as if they've been there for maybe more than 100 years, right? Because when they sentence people, they'll say that you get this many years for this crime, you get this years for this crime, you get. So what if it got to a point that it was possible in the future that they can actually uh, give you 1,000 years? So you experience 1,000 years in a day, but you don't know, like from your perspective, you are actually experiencing 1,000 years, right? That's what really scares me. So consciousness can keep on inventing new ways in which people can actually suffer. Can you imagine? Like that really, really scares me, bro. Like that really, really scares me. So that's what scares me more than reincarnation. You know, that's what really scares me more than reincarnation. And what sucks is that if consciousness can never truly understand itself, right? If it can never truly understand what you really are, it means have to you would have to be strong enough to um what's the word that I'm looking for? Don't know why the word is not coming back, but you have to be strong enough to carry the pain, basically, to carry the burden of consciousness, like the burden of existence. You'd have to be strong enough because you don't know what consciousness is. Can you imagine finding yourself in a world where you know nothing at all? There's nothing that you actually know. You're just conscious. You're scared of a lot of things because you don't even know what to expect. You see, if you don't know what life is, you automatically scared because what is it? If you don't have the answer, and there are a lot of things that are bad that are going on in the world, you could also imagine the worst things happening. There's a reason why we keep on having discussions about what life really is. And what sucks is that we don't know how to know what life is. So it feels like we are just these conscious beings that are always going to be conscious without understanding what consciousness is or what life is, without remembering their past lives, without remembering anything. So when you are having an experience, your consciousness localizes itself, right? Just the same way, like when you're having a dream, consciousness actually localizes itself in the dream, right? So you forget that you're sleeping somewhere. So you just go into dream, and then you dream, and then you dream, and then you dream, and not even knowing that you're dreaming. That's what really scares me. I can imagine these things always been this crazy since the beginning. And I can even imagine there not having been a beginning, right? Like there was always consciousness, recreating stories. I mean, in the big, maybe because there was but never really been a beginning. So consciousness have been recreating stories and stories and stories and story, and also creating new stories and stories and stories. And you kept on having this human experience. You kept on having the experience as anything that you could actually imagine. So not just as a human, but as a chicken, as a cow, as a bull, as a dog, as you know what I'm saying. That's really scary. Some people are scared of death, like because they think death is the end, so they're actually scared, and that makes me laugh sometimes. Like, how can you be scared of death, bro? Like, how? Because here's the thing: if death was possible, that would mean that any possible horror that can be experienced, you're, you're, changes are, I mean, let me say, every possible horror that you can be experienced, some of it you won't experience it, right? So yeah, maybe now you still have to experience some horrors because you're conscious, but you could never experience every kind of suffering. But if you are immortal, you will experience every kind of suffering, right? Um, that's the worst part. If you are conscious, I made some popcorns. It's actually my first time making popcorns. Actually, I was just like, what, let me just make popcorns, because this life is going to be long. You know what it's like when a person gets sentenced. They know. I mean, that's what people believe, right? They know they're going to die. You believe that you're going to die when you get sentenced. So there's a part of you that's like, yeah, I'm not going to do this forever. I'm not going to be in this jail forever. But if you are immortal, can you imagine? Because human beings are sadistic. That's something that I've realized. Like, we like to think that when people get arrested, We are happy that criminals are arrested and these people are doing their time, but there's a part of us that wants to see others suffering, right? We are naturally sadistic. There's a reason why if something bad happens to someone, you want to hear about it. Like you're going to ask more questions about it. People don't talk about bad things that happen to other people because they really care. Like, "Ish, I really wish that didn't happen." It's kind of like entertainment from a lot of people. That's why bad news travels faster than good news, right? If good things happen to you, it will take time for people to know, right? But if something bad happened to you, everyone would know. You know what I'm saying? Everyone would know. It's because people are actually sadistic. People actually want to see others suffering. This reminds me of this episode of Black Mirror. It's called White Bear. I always tell you about it. The lady killed, I mean, she didn't, a boyfriend killed a kid, and they ended up burying the kid, and she was recording everything. So her punishment was that they was going to wipe off her memories completely, put her in this park where everyone would be acting, right? So she doesn't know that people are acting. So she go through all kinds of horrors thinking that it's all real, what everyone was acting, right? And then it will be revealed to her in the end that, oh, you're actually being punished because you did it. So people were happy to participate, right? And if you really want to, if to realize that, because that's how it will be actually even in real life. So if you want to realize that people are actually sadistic, who were they actually punishing? If you see, if I do something and they wipe off my memories completely and I don't even remember what I did, I'm not the same person that did it. Does that make sense? You are no longer punishing the person who actually did it because I don't even remember. Who are you actually punishing? So they wipe off your memories completely, they punish her, wipe off your memories completely, punish her. What they are actually doing is torturing a new person. Believe it or not, they are actually torturing a new person. And in a world like this, that will happen. If it was possible that they wipe off a person's memories completely and they put them in a park where everyone is acting and they're going to participate in the torture of that person, they will do it, and it will feel like they just want criminals to be punished, while the truth is that they're just sadistic. You see what's crazy? So fearing death is absurd if you believe death is the end, because you will that will actually mean that other horrors that you can imagine, you won't experience them. You will have only experienced the suffering that you will have experienced as a human. You would have never known what it's like to be a monkey born in a cage and have to be in that cage for the rest of its life. You know, you never know what, because monkeys are smart. So they know when they're in captivity, and they know they don't want to be in captivity, and they know they do not have power. They don't know how to get out. But like, how do I get out? I'm in this place. Something about this place just doesn't feel right. I don't want to be in this place. I don't feel free in this place. I cannot just move around freely like I would like. So can you imagine what that is actually like? And then they see you, you know, behind the fence, looking at them, taking pictures of them, thinking that that is beautiful. The fact that human beings think that is beautiful is scary. Like seriously, like we scary, bro. Think about it. Like human beings think that is beautiful. They'll be taking pictures of these animals, and these animals are in captivity, and we like to think we're good. Like you actually want to think that you're a good person. I remember uh, 2 months back, I went to a zoo in Johannesburg. So snakes that went, they seemed dead, bro. Like they weren't even moving. You're like, they're in very, like snakes like to move, bro. They don't want to just be given food and just exist for our entertainment. They also want to experience life the way that they want to experience it. So it was snakes. It was they had a honey badger, but the honey badger seemed to not care. Like that animal is weird, bro. Like it was just moving around like this. Like it's the only animal that seemed to not care that it was in captivity. It was just moving around like this. And you're like, huh? This animal doesn't even seem like it's in pain. Like it has a thick skin, but it also has a thick heart, I guess. Like it has a heart made of stone or something. But a lot of animals that were there, you could see that they're not happy. You could see, like, when you look at them, you're like, these animals can tell that they're in captivity and they do not like it very much. You see, that's what really scary. So yeah, you'd experience life from a perspective of a snake that's in captivity, perspective of a shark that's in captivity, dolphin. We are told that dolphins are like the second smartest animals. It's believed that we are smarter than dolphins, but chances are we not. It makes me laugh. Like maybe dolphins know some things that we don't know. Actually, yes, dolphins are smart, bro. Like there's some things that they know that normal, like we don't know. Maybe they understand us when we talk to them. Maybe they understand themselves. Maybe they understand. Maybe they've seen some things that we don't know even exist. Maybe there's aliens, and they know about these aliens. I remember Joe Rogan made this joke about dolphins. One of my favorite jokes, actually. He says, dolphins are smart. Because think about it. No one has ever went fishing and accidentally caught a dolphin, right? So I'm thinking, if humans live underwater, you catch them any day. Like you catch them every day, actually. And they don't even need to live in the sea. If beggars just floated around, at least once a week, some dude will be like, "Yo, I'm I'm taking a chance," and we'll see him get yanked. uh, that joke made me laugh. And you think about it, and you're like, that is actually true. That is actually true. So to think dolphins are the second smartest animals, I don't know. Because a lot of people think that they're smart, and the reason why they think they're smart is because they have technology, right? Right now, I'm live on YouTube. But I didn't create any of this. Someone created YouTube, someone created the internet, someone created this. It's not like I created this. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm just using this. So I can't really say I'm smart because I can use a phone. You know, I would be smart if I can create it. And as humans, we like to say stuff like, we created this, we created that. No, I didn't create any of this stuff. They created this, they created that, they created iPhones, Samsungs, and all of that. I didn't create any of that. Another funny joke by Joe Rogan was when he spoke about what if all the intelligent people died and they left us with a bunch of shit that we don't understand, right? They left us with things that we don't actually understand. We'll naturally go back to the to the caves, really. We didn't even understand math. And he was like, I think that happened in the past, the pyramids, I think people used to be really, really smart in the past, but then all the intelligent people died. Or they left us. Can you imagine if all the intelligent people actually left, like decided to leave this place, like what Elon Musk seemed to be trying to do? So they actually leave us. So you find that everyone who knows something, you know, leaves, and they leave us who don't know anything. You don't know how to create a car. You don't know how electricity really works. Um, you don't know how the internet really works. You don't know anything basically. So they leave all of them and they leave us alone. What will happen? We'll have to naturally go back to the cave. Like, you know what I'm saying? We'll naturally go back to the caves. Animals will find a way out. So you will not be safe in the street. You you'll be like, oh, I got guns and all that. But what happens when you run out of bullets? People will be fighting for bullets, bro. No one will be producing bullets anymore. So yes, you got a gun, but then you run out of bullets. So how do you protect yourself? You're gonna walk with a knife? How? What do you do when a bear tries to attack you if you have a knife? You know what I'm saying? But the point that I'm trying to make is that as conscious beings, we have been torturing ourselves for energy, right? It can be in the form of food. It can be in the form of entertainment, exploitation and all of that. But we've been doing that. So if we were immortal or we were conscious forever, if immortality was a real thing, that would mean that you would have to experience life from the perspective of whatever has suffered the most in this realm. That is what's messed up. If there's a person who that that had a stroke, it means at some point you'd experience something similar to that, and all the kind of sufferings that you could think of, you will actually experience it because uh, you are going to exist forever. You're going to be conscious forever. So isn't that scary? So you can't say death is scary. That is what's really scary. It's quantum immortality. You know, I'm not trying to be a promoralist here, but it's true. I think I stopped being scared of death um, 7 years ago. Right? I was like, growing up, I used to be so scared of dying, bro. But what if death is not even what you think? What if it's not? Can you imagine if you didn't die? This reminds me of this movie. It's called Infinite. Um, there were these guys who kept on reincarnating back, and they understood. They remember their past lives. Like when they're still young, maybe they'll not be able to remember the past life, but maybe like when they reach a certain age, they'll be able to remember their past life. So some of them ended up wanting to destroy life completely. Why? Because they were tired, you know, of like coming back. And in the beginning, they wanted to help humanity. They're like, okay, since we've been blessed with this gift, because it's not like every human is able to remember the past lives. We can be able to remember our past lives, and they'll acquire a lot of skills. Can you imagine everything that you've ever learned? If in your previous life you were an MMA fighter, for an example, you don't forget. If you were Khabib Nurmagomedov, you know what I'm saying, you don't forget. Let me think of an MMA fighter who died. Johnson, I think Johnson died. What's the name of this guy? Let me think of. Damn, there's this fighter that I used to like that died. I forgot his name. But yeah, you remember all your skills. If you were in the Navy, you remember all of that. If you were a soldier, you remember all of that. So these people were very advanced when it comes to everything. They were able to fight. Some of them would even be able to dodge bullets. Like they were dead, they were dead advanced. But they ended up being bored. Like, no, look, humanity does not have a bright future. We've been here forever. And we know that the humans are always going to be creating problems. So this seemed to be a mess. So they created this technology that would wipe out everything that exists, so that they will never come back because they got bored basically. So I'm thinking to someone like that who would feel like that, death will actually they will consider death to be a good thing than to be conscious forever. It wouldn't mean that they would want to die as soon as possible. You know, they would probably want to experience life until it ends if they do this what they really want, right? But knowing that they're not here forever, that will actually be a good thing. Like that will actually that would make this not to feel like a prison. Because you see, if you felt that you were conscious forever, it will mean that if you find existence unbearable, it will actually be like being trapped in a prison forever. And that is really, really scary. And this will be the worst kind of prison. if because you are not even going to be getting the answers that you're looking for. Like you don't know what life is, where life comes from, and all of that. So you will keep on suffering. You'll keep on suffering. You keep on suffering, guys. If anyone wants to join my life, actually, because I think it'll be interesting to have people join the live. So listen, if you want to join my life, what you must do. If you want to join my life, right? Send me an email now and I'll send you the link. I think it's possible to join a live because I'm seeing this share thing. Okay, let me see actually. Oh, this is share screen and no YouTube. No, I don't think. I think I should have made the link before I started the live. But you know what we can do now? Because I'm gonna be doing like I'm gonna be going live like almost all the time actually because there's a lot that I want to share and I also want to connect with people in a real way. Sometimes to just be making videos alone, you kind of feel weird sometimes. It actually does get boring sometimes. So to be able to communicate with people directly and to be able to read their comments and even go live with them like that's will actually be beautiful. So what we will do, I'm gonna give you my email now. It's bfam forever@gmail.com. So what we can do is that you tell me, you send me an email and tell me that, yo, next time when you go live, I would like to join. So I'll send you the link, right? So that when you find me live, you'll actually join and I'll accept the request and we all can also communicate. I think that will actually be fun because I think there's a lot that we can discuss. And there have been people who've been saying that, they want us to talk and all of that. So this will actually be dope. And also, I'm going to create another Discord server. So yeah, we'll also be able to discuss a lot of things that we want to discuss, like yeah, this time around I wanna talk a lot more with all of your guys and get to understand you all better and also learn because there's so much to learn. Last time when I created the Discord server, there was so much that I was learning from other people. But yeah, I'm really scared of being alive forever. The thought of being eternal does not give me peace. If there's something that keeps me awake at night is the thought of being eternal, like existing forever. Like no matter what you do, you will never stop existing. You know, the same way that when you wake up from a dream, you still exist, right? It's not like you stop. You know what I'm saying? I remember last week I had I told you guys about dreams within dreams within dreams. Like I keep on having those, but the, the last week that was like the worst experience that I had because I think I woke up like three times in the same place, right? In the same place. You understand? You wake up and you think that's it. You've woken up. You don't do anything. You just wake up. Oh, I've woken up. Good. And then boom, you wake up again. You're like, what the hell? I thought I had woken up. It's almost as if there's a glitch that's happening basically. Like you wake up and then you think you've woken up and then you wake up again. You're like, what's going on? I remember the last time when it happened is as my body started to vibrate. I've already told you about these vibrations. Weirdest thing ever. Like you vibrate like a cell phone. So I started to vibrate, and then I woke up again. I was like, what the hell was that? Because here's the thing. So after waking up, actually, I was thought about why I was vibrating. Like, okay, what's going on? Why did I vibrate and all of that? And then I woke up again and I was like, this can't be real. See how scary that is. So you keep on waking up, you keep on waking up, you keep on waking up, and you don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, okay, now that I've woken up, now I understand what life is, what consciousness is, and all of that. I mean, yes, it's good to come up with our own theories. As a conscious being, you must come with your own theories about existence. Try to explain life. yourself, because it's up to you to figure out what this is. It's not up to Elon Musk, it's not up to your pastor, it's not up to your parents, not up to your friends, it's not up to Benedictine. You know what I'm saying? It's not up to you know Ellen Watts, or like it's up to you. You're the one who must decide what you think this is, because it seems like you will never be given the answers, and you can never be outside of consciousness to truly understand it for what it is. That's what's really scary, you know the same way that it feels like we could never be outside of the universe, right? Because you don't know what the universe really is, right? You don't know what you are inside of. What if there was something much bigger than you, and that can see what's happening in the universe? So it can see everything that's happening in the universe, but you can't see it. It's outside of it. I remember Joe Rogan. I don't think if this was Joe. I think he was talking about it on his podcast. It was like we could be inside someone's nuts and we wouldn't even know it. You know, think about all the cells in your bodies. Do they in your body? Do they really understand where they are? Like they're actually inside a living being. Like actually, you know what I'm saying? They don't. So that's how. So that's what makes it scary. Not knowing scary. That's why I want to know. That's why gnosis is important. Knowing what this is. I think you could have real fun knowing what this is. I told you guys that I like playing snooker, but I'm imagining if I didn't know what snooker is and I had to play it. Let's say I was forced to play snooker. I didn't even know what it was. At some point, it will be boring, right? But if I know it's just a game, it's just a game. I'm just playing for fun. I don't really take anything that happens personally. If I lose, I lose. Like, yeah, of course I lost today. Oh, of course I won today. But it's not really a big deal, and I have fun knowing that it's just a game. But because we don't know what this is, it's scary. And I think I shouldn't be the only person who should be scared. I remember I made a video, and I'm gonna be making TikToks now since I bought a new phone. Uh, I was like, I don't understand why people blame those who don't want to have kids. Because here's the thing, we don't know what this is, right? And that's really my best reason for not wanting to have kids. It's like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what to tell my children. I mean, this place could be anything. It could be a cosmic prison, could be a simulation, uh, it could be hell. I don't know what this is for real. And that is scary. Not knowing is scary, bro. Not knowing, like, that's what really scary. I do understand that some people who are saying, okay, this is a positive experience and all of that. It's understandable. You can say it's a positive experience. But not everyone who is here is having a positive experience. And even if you want to blame those who are having a negative experience, if you try to see things from their perspective, study their lives, you understand that they are innocent. Like, they don't deserve to go through what they are going through, because free will doesn't even exist. You are brought here without your consent. You didn't choose which family you're gonna grow up in, what kind of experiences you're going to have. Things just happen to you, and the things that happen to you determine how you're gonna view life and how you're gonna do things. I remember I was having a conversation with someone about confidence. It was like, confidence isn't something that can be faked. If whenever I keep on trying to do something, I keep on failing, I'm not gonna have confidence. Why? Because I keep on failing. I'm trying, but I keep on failing. So I'm not gonna have confidence, right? But if I keep on doing something and you find that, I keep on succeeding, I'm automatically gonna have confidence. So that tells you don't have free will. You can't fake confidence. You can't just be like, I can beat Brock Lesnar. Like, no, I think Brock Lesnar will kill me. I think Khabib Nurmagomedov will kill me. Like, I wouldn't be confident if they put me in an octagon with Islam Makachev. I'll run away. I mean, I wouldn't run away if like the whole thing is life and all that, because you know me. I'll probably try something, but I wouldn't be confident. I wouldn't think, hey, I'm gonna beat Islam Makachev, and he'll be very confident. He'll probably be laughing that, what am I doing with this guy? You know what I'm saying? So you can't fake, like you can't fake. Let me put it this way: you can actually be effective if you're going to be fake. For example, if you don't feel positive and you pretend as if you feel positive, that's not going to help you. Just because the whole world is telling you that, yeah, be positive, be this and that. I know people who are like that. They're trying to be positive. You can tell the person has been through hell. You can tell they don't believe the positive things that they be saying, but they're told that they must try to be positive and all of that. You can tell they're not authentic, right? So that's not good. It's better to be real, to be like, this is where I am. This is what life created. I didn't want to think this way. I didn't say I want to think this way, but this is how I think. This is how I feel. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really blame anyone for anything because we don't have free will. We are product of our genes, circumstances, and tradition. Really, that's it. That's why Hobson in his song Nocturnal Rainbow said in the beginning, like, you think you're original, you're not original. You're programmed to be you. You're a slave and you don't even know it. The things you think of ain't even your thoughts. Step out of the box for a minute. I was like, whoa. It's like, yeah, you're programmed to be you. If you didn't choose to be born, you didn't choose your parents, you didn't choose what kind of experiences you're going to have, what kind of food you're going to eat. I mean, when the way I grew up, we're just eating whatever they were giving us, right? All of that uh, builds you into the person that you become. Two people who lived in different places. Like if there was another vision of me that was born maybe in America and in a good family, I will be a bit different, right? I'll look, kind of different. The swag will be different. Music taste maybe will be different. My attitude towards life will be different. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I wouldn't even agree with some of the things that I'm saying now. You know what I'm saying? Because of how I experience life. Maybe I'll be an a-hole. It's also possible to find that life treated me so well that I can't even relate to other people. Like, I'm just gonna be an a-hole. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have free will. You never did. So who's really to blame? Is it? That is why I don't want to judge people and pretend as if I'm better. I'm understanding something that I think a lot of people don't understand, which is that I could have been that person. That's really scary when you think deeply about it. I could have been that person that I'm judging, that person that I think deserves to go through hell because of what they did. I could have been that person if life treated me in a way that made me feel like I should be that person, then I would have been that person, right? You're lucky if you're watching this and you're not catching a case, for an example. It means life treated you in a way that didn't lead you, towards that kind of life, you know? So we don't actually have free will. It can only be an illusion. We are victims of causality, of cause and effect. I don't want to think that things are predetermined. I mean, you can even look at it that way, but I don't want to look at it like that way completely. Like, even if the whole thing is scripted, it doesn't mean it's predetermined. It doesn't mean that the script you're gonna follow the script completely. It's like WWE is scripted. We all know that, but that doesn't mean that things are always gonna work out the way that they're supposed to. There will be things that are not gonna happen that were supposed to happen, or things that are gonna happen. Like accidents can happen, and you find that things don't actually happen the way that they were determined to happen. So I would say what is more true is that we're victims of cause and effect. You know, WWE fighters, even though they're following this a script, it also has to do with how they experience life, right? How they're going to perform has to do with how they experience life. So that's what I mean when I say you don't actually have free will. So even if you're following the script, you are following the script, uh, but the way you're following it is determined by how you have experienced life, right? The way you talk, the way you act, the way you're gonna perform. If you get tired, when you're performing, it has to do with cause and effect. So if you were immortal, you will just be a victim of life. Because one of the biggest questions is if this was possible, if it was possible for us to find ourselves in a world where animals have to eat other animals for survival, and that's how it's supposed to be, right? And that's what's normal. What kind of world can we find ourselves in if we were eternal? Like, if this was possible, don't you think that something worse than this can be possible? If this was possible, because this is crazy, bro. Like, the fact that life is the way that it is now is actually crazy. I remember I was watching this documentary early in the morning. So these guys went to this mountain where there are these tigers. I think they're saying there's less than 100 of them left. And I was thinking about how these animals are living. I'm like, that's their life, bro. And an animal wakes up in the morning, it knows it can die at any time. There are animals that want to kill it. And if these animals do not do that, they're going to die. Like, that's the game. Ever thought about how insane that is? I remember telling you about movies where people are supposed to kill one another for survival. Like, they're in a kill or be killed type of situation. Can we honestly say that is good? Because it's the same thing that we're going through. Whether we see it or not, it's literally the same thing that we're going through, right? A chicken, even though you'd say, well, a chicken is not a human, my life matters more than the life of a chicken. The universe doesn't see it that way. And that chicken is also having its own life, its own experience, the way that you're having your own experience, right? So it suffers the way that you suffer. You just look at it and be like, oh, well, it's just a chicken. So it is. So if you think of these kind of movies where, like, you have to kill, if you don't kill, you get killed. It's it's the same. It's the same way that this universe is. It's kill or be killed. There's a reason why if a lion sees you, it's not gonna be like, oh, that's a human. I must worship this human. Even if a lion sees you for the first time, it's gonna be like, okay, what is that? Because it's never really seen, humans, right? So it's gonna be like, what is that? But it doesn't mean that it's not gonna try to attack you. It's just gonna be like, what is that? 'Cause it doesn't know what you are, and you look weird. You kind of look like an alien, bro. That's why the stories of the Anunnaki actually make sense. That actually humans are not from here. They, aliens did some experiments where they matched our DNA with the DNA of the humanoids that they found here that actually belong here. And then, we turn into these things that we became. That's why we don't really fit in like that. It's like every other animal seems to fit in perfectly here. As we have to wear clothes when it's cold and all of that, like it kind of feels like we don't belong here. So that's why the stories make sense. But when an animal sees you, It wants to eat. It never even feel guilt. You know, if a lion kills you and eats you, it wouldn't feel guilty at all. It wouldn't sleep at night and be like, "Ish, I ate a human." Like, no, it's how nature works. So, do you understand the kind of universe that you found yourself in? So, does it really make you feel at home, like you're in a friendly universe? Does it really feel like a friendly universe if there are animals that have been programmed to get energy by killing you, by torturing you, because you're gonna bleed, crush your bones? Can you imagine? Can you imagine being eaten by an animal? Can you imagine being eaten by wild dogs, bro? Like those things don't give a damn. They'll eat you while you're standing, bro. Finish you up. You see how bad that is, and you'll be like, "Oh, the universe is friendly." No, it isn't. Even in those movies where they're in a kill or be killed type of situation, there are things that you'd say are good. You find that maybe they're given food when they're performing very well. They're given food. They're even given some entertainment sometimes, and all of that. But it doesn't mean that they're in a good situation. No, they're not. They're in a messed up situation. So people who are not deep thinkers will be like, "Oh, we're in a good situation." No, no, no. Look at the way things work in this world. Don't just look at the entertainment. You know, like, yeah, I'm being entertained by this and that. Look at how things really work in this realm. You will realize that, no, 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 this ain't it, bro. You know, there's a reason why some people believe that there are NPCs in this room. Because some people worship this place so much that it's kind of like they were programmed to do that. Like if you watched there's this movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart. It's like they found themselves in a video game. So in this video game, they were NPCs. NPCs were programmed to say some things, repeat some words, and all of that. So they were the ones who were conscious, who were asking questions and all of that. But the NPCs don't even ask questions, right? So they will act as if this is okay because they were created to act that way. So that's why some people be like, well, maybe there are NPCs in this realm because why do you condemn me for asking questions as if I shouldn't be curious in a world where I was not given answers? I mean, I must ask questions. I must be curious as a conscious being. Why shouldn't I be curious? You get what I'm saying? So you're like, okay, maybe these people were programmed to discourage me from thinking, to make me feel like I'm bad for thinking. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's scary, man, is that if this was possible, it makes you think of what else could be possible, right? If this was possible, it makes you ask yourself, what else would be possible? We have been told about the Christian vision of hell. If this was possible, you're like, what if that is possible, right? You find yourself in a world where you're just banning, and you're just banning and banning and banning. I mean, even in this realm, people ban, right? If an accident happened, people can ban. Even like the world is so indifferent that the whole family can ban inside a house. When there was a newborn baby, that baby doesn't even understand what fire is. Helpless, sleeping in one place, the baby just burns. That's how indifferent this universe is. You understand? Like, there's people be like, oh, you call this a hell room, you call this a hell room. Like, no, bro. It's what I'm telling you. These are facts. These are facts. You can't tell me that baby deserved that. And people who believe in reincarnation be saying, I mean, people who believe that we chose to be here, right? We chose to be here. You think that someone would choose that? Like I want to be born in a family where I will die by fire. You know, I'm gonna be living that family for maybe 8 months. You know, find that it's not even a good family. The baby's not even eating well. The baby's not being well treated. There's noise everywhere. It's just pure nonsense, basically. And then an accident happens, and then the whole family bends, including the baby. Who will choose that? Because that happens in this realm. Who will like choose that? Do you understand? Ask yourself this question. You are here now. Let's say they created a simulation. What kind of life would you choose in that simulation? Would you choose that kind of experience in a simulation? Like people should stop BSing you, bro. Like let's be real about where we are. You know, it makes more sense to think we didn't choose this. There's some people that are suffering so much that if you believe we chose to be here, you'll be like, how did they choose that? And what can they possibly learn from that? You know, how did they choose that, and how can they possibly learn from that? What did that baby learn? I keep on telling you guys that trauma does not build character, it destroys it. If you ever get angry and you do things that are just irrational, and people are surprised, like, how can you trauma? You say things that you end up regretting. And I told you the video that I published last, don't even regret anything. If you get angry and say some things, or you get angry and make some mistake, don't even regret. It's like it's who you are when you are angry. It also tells you something about you know what's hidden inside, like, because the world is trying to control you so much that you have hidden parts of yourselves that you feel like the world won't accept. Trauma does not build character, so you don't learn from suffering. It seemed that way, but you don't. You actually learn. And you might say, no, no, Benedict, you're lying. We actually learn from suffering. But you know what you're learning? You are learning that the world is cruel. You are learning how cruel the world is. So is that the lesson? You don't actually learn and become more conscious. And I mean, you can become more conscious of the kind of place that you are in, but is that the point of it? Can you be brought into a prison to learn that you are in a prison? And that's it. That there was the point of it. But the people who talk about, hey, you're here to learn lessons, what they're basically saying is that there's something worth learning from suffering that you will learn, and that's gonna help you maybe in your other lives and all of that. It's just a trap, man. Like, it's a trap. And it sounds good because people don't want to believe this is bad. If you don't want to believe we're in a hell room, and someone tells you that no, you actually did choose to be here. You chose your parents, you chose the people that you're gonna date, who's gonna steal your car, all of that. You chose all of that. So you end up feeling better than you feel if you felt like you didn't choose this at all, because you want to feel like you're in control. That's the thing about being a human. You don't want to feel like you're totally helpless. You want to feel like, you know, maybe I can control this, I can control that. And it feels good to think that than to think that, hey, I might not have had any hand in this. Like this is just happening on its own. And I don't even I don't have, like, I can't control anything. It's just gonna things are just gonna happen and happen and happen and happen until I die. I made a video like 3 days back talking about it doesn't really matter how hard you try. And I've seen a lot of people try to have the kind of lives that they want, but they keep on experiencing nonsense. You're like, damn. Like, you see a person tried the hardest, bro. Do you know how many people are trying? It's just that you never get to know about those who failed. You see, that's the worst thing about failing in life. Like, if you want to be an MMA fighter, you train hard, you wake up every day, you train hard, you train hard, you train hard every day. You train harder than Duplessis is fighting Hamza Chimaev on Saturday. I think it's on Saturday. I think Chimaev is gonna win. He's South African, but I can't. And I think Chimaev is gonna like wipe the floor with the guy. But what I'm trying to say is that there are people who have been training harder than these guys, but they got sick at some point and they couldn't train anymore, and they got involved in an accident, and they know they can't fight as effectively as they could have been able to if they didn't get involved in an accident, or they just keep on losing, right? So they keep on trying, but it just doesn't work out. It happens in this realm. So that's what sucks. It's like it doesn't matter how hard you try. So do you understand that we are in a bad situation here where we don't even know anything? I don't think you want that. Like you want to be in a place where you know nothing and things just happen. Humans like surprises, but they also want to know when they can know. Does that make sense? You also want to know when you need to know, especially if the surprises ain't good. So even if you like surprises, but if you are being surprised with nonsense, then now you gotta know what's going on, right? So humans, they're not they don't ask questions usually when they're doing well, you know. Usually when things are working out, humans do not ask questions. But when things are not working out, that's when humans be asking questions. Guys, keep commenting. I wanna respond to the comments because I wasn't reading the comments. I was just talking. So I want to respond to the comments. So if you have any question that you want to ask, tell me. Yeah, let's try to talk because we haven't done this in a while, man. And that's the reason why I'm doing this now. I wanna be able to talk to you all guys. Some people were saying that I don't respond to comments. I know what I do is when I make a video, I respond to what, and I actually do respond to comments. It's just that it's never been every comment, but now I want to respond to every comment. I want to respond to everything that people are going to be asking. So the first question here is from Exclusive Help: Is witchcraft real? uh, I grew up in a place where everyone believes that witchcraft is real, but here's how I want to put it. Obviously there are people who can do things that we can't explain now. Like for an example, you can't really explain how internet works, right? So can you imagine if they explained it as witchcraft? They didn't call it technology, they explained it as witchcraft. You will look at it as witchcraft. If someone developed a technology that allows them to, like when they do this, you fall. Like they don't even have to touch you, you know, they can just do this and then you fall. You call that witchcraft, right? So I would say witchcraft is abilities that we don't quite understand yet. So obviously witchcraft is real in that sense, but not in the way that you look at it, like the way that Africans look at it. I wouldn't say it's real in that way. Like it's something that is explainable, but we don't understand it yet. And that's what sucks about humans, is that they don't want to share what they have found out. If someone creates a technology, they want to eat through the technology. They don't want to be like, okay, let me just help the whole world understand how this works and all of that, because that's how we would evolve, right? But human beings ain't like that. So is witchcraft real? I would say it is, but not in the way that people look at it. Let's keep on reading the comments. I specifically want to respond to questions. Do you also advocate for the destruction of the matrix? um it depends on what that really means, right? It depends on what that really means. But the first thing that we need to also ask ourselves is, what is really the matrix, right? Are we talking about a simulation? Are we talking about the way things work? Like, people going to school, having jobs. Is that what you mean by the matrix? And if that's what you mean by the matrix, definitely. I've never been a fan of school. I've never been a fan of um 9 to 5, like the way that people are supposed to work now. I do believe that it is possible for humans to exist while doing less than what they are doing. Like, we shouldn't be doing too much. You shouldn't have to be waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, drive to work, and there's traffic. You get to work, you start working, you have a boss that you don't like, you know co-workers, you're always having these problems, and you're doing things that you do not want to do all day. You don't enjoy sitting behind a desk and be typing some stuff. You're not even interested in all of that. It's very similar to slavery. It's just that we don't look at it that way, because people go through a lot preparing themselves to become what they become in the end. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't really feel like slavery because of that. Because if you went to school when you were young because you want to have a job in the end, once you get the job, it's you're gonna like kind of like appreciate it. Like, oh, I got a job now, I'm a doctor, or I got a job now, I'm a teacher, or I got a job now, uh, I'm a driver, or whatever. But it feels good because it's what you kind of like worked for. But then it's after some time it starts to, the truth, you start to experience the truth of it. You start to wake up in the morning, on Sunday, and be like, damn, so I gotta go to work the whole week. There's a reason why people like Fridays, bro. If you've ever had a job, you'd realize that on Monday, even if on Friday you had fun, or even let's just say on Saturday you went somewhere with your coworkers, you had fun. On Monday, everyone is depressed, bro. Like, the energy, you can feel the energy. You can feel that people are not okay, right? On Tuesday they get better, Wednesday they get better, Thursday, mm, then Friday, everyone is just, you know what I'm saying? They even allow people to wear whatever they want to wear, depending on the kind of job that you have. But on Fridays, usually they allow you to wear whatever you want to wear. It's a day for fun, bro. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because people don't want to go to work. Like, okay, on Saturday I'm not going to work, so I'm happy that tomorrow I'm not going to go to work. On Sunday at night, that's when the truth hits again. Like, damn, I'm gonna have to go to work. Sure, I'm gonna have to deal with that. I have this project that I have not finished. I gotta get there early and all of that. Easy. So if you are referring to that when you say the matrix, yes, I don't think that that's how the world should work. I do believe that we would have been able to create a world that works even without what we call jobs. Like, it would be good to work together as humans. I'm not saying we should be lazy and not do anything, but you know, the jobs are not what people think. You know, it are done. The jobs are not what people actually think. There's a reason why people don't love their jobs, bro. There's a reason why in the past people love doing the things that they will do. Things that you will be like, okay, that's like having a job. But they used to love and enjoy what they were doing because it didn't really feel like they were in a matrix. It just felt like something that they just wanted to do at the end of the day. It felt like, even if they weren't doing it because they're trying to like maybe um produce food and all that, it's so fun. It will be something that they would want to do. But to be working just because you want money, like, that's it. That's the only reason. You're not working because you want to work. You're working because you want money. Of course, that's slavery. Can you imagine if you truly enjoyed what you were doing? And how many people do actually enjoy what they're doing? It's very few people. So yeah, I don't believe in the way things are in this realm, bro. You know, I remember this other day I went to a shop. It's called Markham. I wanted to buy this other jacket. Says that it's on top of the bed. So It was late. They were about to close, right? So I took time there. I was with my cousin. I took time because I wanted to choose the right jacket. So I took time. Those people were mad, bro. Like there was this girl that I used to talk to. She's always laughing. And I greeted her, and the way she responded, you could tell that everyone is mad. Like they want to close, and they can't close while there's still a customer that wants to buy. And you're like, yeah, that tells you something. That people ain't happy here. They're just coming here because they need money. They gotta pay their bills and that's it. So this is not the kind of world that you want to live in. You want to live in a world where people are doing things that they actually want to do, but they're still able to, put food on the table. Any question? Women should be awakened to. I pray women become aware. There's many YouTube channels um like that were created by women, and they're sharing their knowledge. I think both men and women are waking up, right? It's not like it's only men who are waking up. I think both men and women are actually waking up. I think women, unlike men, they don't like exposing themselves that much. And what do I mean? They don't want to be online and talk about what they understand and all of that. They kind of like they do like to be online dancing and all of that, but to share their perspective. I've spoken to a lot of women who watch my videos, and you could tell that it's much harder for them to share their perspectives than it is for men. You see, so that's why a lot of men are, seem to be the ones who are actually awake, and women, don't really seem like they're awake. But I think both men and women are waking up. I don't think it's only men that are waking up. Go on TikTok and search for women who who are waking up. You see that they have a lot to say. Those who are brave enough to share their perspective. So it's not really like that. Like, women are not waking up. No, no, no. Let's see if the questions, like a question will end with question mark. So this one I'll see that it's a question. Okay, someone is saying that am I not generalization, but in our country, in my environment, women are okay. Fine. Okay, let me explain. As a man, like if you're a man, right, you're attracted to women, so you pay more attention to women, and because women are the ones that are being approached by men, it seems as if men are smarter. Does it make sense? Like if we live in a world where women were the ones approaching men, they'll be the ones who will be planning how to approach. You know what I'm saying? They'll be the ones who would have to come up with different plans on how to approach and all of that. So it will seem like they are smarter. So if we live in a world where women don't have to do much to survive, of course it's gonna seem like they are not smart. Ever been in a situation where you are with a person that does a lot of things? Like this, just say maybe you live with a person, they are doing a lot of things that are supposed to be done in the house. It might even seem like you're dumb or you can't do these things, right? Why? Because they are already doing these things. So in every country, men are the ones who are doing a lot of things that people think smart people should do, and so women don't really have to do these things. So it may seem like men are smarter than women, but it's not really what you think. Women are smart, bro. They be fooling men all the time, you know like That's why there's men who like look at women, be like, oh, women are innocent and all of this and that, and you find out they're doing things behind their back. That's being smart. That's sneaky. You know, some people believe that men cheat more than women, but the real truth is that women cheat more than men, and they get away with it all the time. You see, so it's not that women are dumb. Like, don't look at it that way. In fact, you thinking that dumb will make it easy for them to fool you. Women are as smart as men if men are smart. Let's put it that way. But what you must realize is that there are very few people in the world who are actually smart, right? Okay. Katie said, it is said that I've never found an enlightened woman, like someone who put me on. Mm, do you have enlightened friends? Another thing that you must realize is that because women are more private than men, even if let's just say you are like, how many women have you interacted with and became very close to? Like, you've been more close with men than women, right? So that means that it will be much harder for you to find an enlightened women if there are very few people in the world who are actually enlightened. So you will have a better chance finding a man who's enlightened, and that person becomes your friend because you know more men than you know women. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Even women do struggle to find men that will consider to be enlightened. I've spoken to a lot of women like, oh, I've never, I live in this country and I've never came across a man who's like this and who's like that. It's the same thing, you know. Okay, do you think black pill is true? What about red pill, blue pill? Is there other pills? Okay, obviously yes, but not on every level. Do you know? Okay, guys, I'm coming back in a second. Just in a second, in a second. Thank you for being patient. Thank you all for being patient. Okay, the question was, do I think black pill is real? Yeah, obviously, blue pill, red pill, and all of that. All of these I ideas come from a true place, but I'll say black pill is more real. But I also wanna. There's something that I wanna talk about on this on the black pill thing. Um, the problem with people in general is that because something is true, we make it true for everyone. So let me put it this way. Let's say I believe that women only care about looks, right? I believe that. Am I saying that there are no women out there who are going to be like, this guy is not very good looking, but I like how he thinks and I like him for that. And he's the guy that I want to be with because of how he thinks. Are you saying no women in the whole world will actually love a guy because of how he thinks? Is that true? Yes, it is true that women go for, like, if you're good looking, we've seen that since we were little kids. Like the girls, the young girls, like the cute kids. You know what I'm saying? That's how it worked. They like the cute boys. The boys that everyone knew they were cute. Like the girls are what, but that doesn't mean that women are only attracted to looks. There are women who are not only attracted to, it's the same as saying that every man is attracted to how women look. If a woman isn't good looking, he wouldn't choose her. Like if they put Beyonce and they put I'm trying to think of a woman that might not be considered very attractive. I'm trying to think of a woman that might not be considered very attractive. um I don't know. I can't think of any woman that right now, but you can meet a woman that's not as attractive as Beyonce and have options with women who are more attractive than Beyonce, but stick with that women. I've seen that happen a lot, like a lot. So if you tell yourself that, well, guys are just, they only care about one thing and all that, it's not true for every guy. It's true in general, but we mustn't generalize that much. So that's the mistake that people who took the black pill are making. Some like, let's realize that life is more complicated than we like to believe. Even situations, even people in general, like, they're more complicated than we think. you know the thing is, if you already believe something, and this is very important to understand, if you already believe something, you see evidence to support it. You know that. So for an example, if I believe that women only care about looks, I will see evidence for that only. So if I see a woman with a guy who's not that good looking, what will I tell myself? I'm going to tell myself that she's only with him because of this. Maybe he has money and all of that. Someone says Leonardo DiCaprio never been married. Um, I don't know why people wanna get married, bro. I don't know. It's very dangerous. Like, marriage has never been more dangerous than it is now, especially for men. But in general, marriage is actually, like, it's a very challenging thing, you know, because for people to remain married, they must have feelings for each other, and sometimes feelings die. You get what I'm saying? You find that someone is married, yes, but they're not happy. The person that they're with no longer makes them happy. And we see that happen a lot, because in the end, people want to be happy. So it's very risky to decide that you're gonna marry someone and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna love you forever. And yeah, you believe that they're gonna love you forever. People end up getting hurt in the end, and they never understand why. They feel betrayed in the end and they never understand why. So I don't think getting married is, I think it's very risky. Now that doesn't mean that marriage cannot work. Maybe we have seen people who have been married and it kind of worked out well for them. That can happen, but in general, it doesn't work. And it seems like it's gonna become worse, because the world is changing now. People are starting to understand more. Like, men are starting to understand women are starting to understand men. When you go online, there's a woman talking about, hey, to attract women you must be like this and that, and women are like this and that. So there's no trust in relationships. It's not like back then when people were very naive. So it was much easier for marriage to work. So it's a very risky thing. And that's the problem with this realm. It's like things are not really working, they just seem to be. Like, we care more about making things seem to be working than them actually working. Like, you care more about making your life seem good even if it isn't. You see, you care more about making your marriage seem good, even if it isn't, you know, because it is taboo to be honest about, how things are in your own life. So that's the thing. Okay, another question is from Dental Home. Would you rather be happy for the rest of your life or fulfill your soul's destiny? Okay, that's a good question. One of the biggest questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why do we want to be happy? Right? Why do we want to be happy? Because human beings, whatever they do, they're trying to feel better than they're feeling. Like, you don't do things because you want to feel worse than you're feeling. You're actually doing things because you want to feel better than you're feeling. So why do people want to be happy? Would your soul purpose to be unhappy? If you want to believe that you have a soul purpose, would your soul purpose to be unhappy? Be like, okay, my soul purpose is to maybe help people, right? But why will that not make you happy if it's a soul purpose? Wouldn't you program yourself in a way that will make you happy to do what you want, like what your soul wants at the end of the day? Because people end up becoming slaves, right? Like, okay, this is my soul purpose. My soul purpose doesn't, align. It doesn't necessarily mean make me happy, but it's what I'm supposed to. It's like when a Christian to do things that they don't actually want to do, but they believe it's what God wants them to do. So they make themselves, go through hell because they're trying to please God. It's like, no. At the end of the day, you would want to have an experience so that you can be happy. That's it. This thing of telling people that they're here to learn, or they have a purpose on earth and they must sacrifice themselves, like, I think it's all BS, bro. Like, you don't want to go through hell here, bro. And a lot of things that we do not really change anything. Think of people who've done things in the past, the people that we worship, the Martin Luther Kings, the Nelson Mandelas, Barack Obamas. Think of whoever, if they've really made a significant change, that you look at them and be like, dang, they've like really, do you get what I'm saying? Things will forever be what they are, bro. There will be another Obama, there will be another Nelson Mandela, there will be another Martin Luther King. If it was not Nelson Mandela, it would have been someone else. It's like that, but things never really change in the world. Things never really change. So this thing of believing that, hey, there's soul papers and all of that, I think it's what's making people justify their own suffering. You find that they're actually justifying their suffering even if they're going through hell, and people do that all the time, justifying their suffering. Thank you guys for the 100 likes. If you've not liked this live, like the live, the more you like, the more people are able to see the live, the more people are able to join. So that's beautiful. Someone said, I think the cure is to not care anymore and to just let the world be. Yeah, the truth is, there's nothing that's going to affect you emotionally if you do not care about it. Nothing. There are a lot of things that are happening in the world that you don't even know about. There are people who are affected by these things. These things don't even affect these people directly. They just know about these things, you know? So they keep on stressing, and it happens a lot. Like people stress about things that do not directly affect them, right? So if you didn't care and you were detached, you'd be like, you know what, man, I don't know what this is. I can't control this anyway. Why should I care? And remember, I gave you guys this example. It would be like if you're watching soccer, right? You're watching soccer and your favorite team is losing, and you're busy screaming at the TV. You know what I'm saying? Cristiano Ronaldo, why did he do that? You're angry. You're angry. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you're not gonna be enjoying. You're just suffering, right? But can you imagine if you just watched and you're like, okay, you know what? It's just a game. Let me just watch and see how these players are playing. Some of these players are very skilled and all of that. Like that will actually be better. So yes, the answer is detachment. And the mistake that we've made growing up is that we learn to become attached to things. Society taught us to be attached to things. You find that you're attached to money, you're attached to status, success, how people perceive you and all of these things. And now we've created these prisons for ourselves, and we suffer in these prisons because of what we program ourselves to care about. I remember I gave you this example that when my father passed away, my nephew was 5. I remember when we brought they brought the coffin home. He told me that that's like I could understand that he understand that his granddad is dead, right? So when he saw the coffin, he knew that that was his granddad. He wasn't crying. It's like he kind of gets it. So he's not too affected because he didn't program himself to care that much, right? And I'm not saying we mustn't care when people die, but we have to understand that we are in a world that's very, like, that seem more like a lush farm, right? Like we're being harvested for any, like our souls are being harvested for energy. Like there is something that wants to torture us through these experiences that we're having. We lose our loved ones, we produce a lot of lush. We you go through a breakup, you produce a lot of lush. You get sick, and you don't feel, like when you get sick you think that you're gonna die, you produce a lot of lush. um you apply for a job, you produce a lot of lush because you're not getting the job, or you go for a job interview and you fail, produce a lot of lush. You want things, you produce a lot of lush. You want people to view you a certain way, you produce a lot of lush. Like this is the kind of realm that we live in. It seems like there is something that wants our energy, and it tortures us for it. I remember I gave you this example with the frogs that produce DMT, that people have to kind of like provoke them somehow so that they'll release, you know like a snake, basically, like when people want the venom of a snake. So if a snake knew that when they put the fangs inside a bottle, they wanted to produce venom and it didn't produce venom, that would be brilliant. You know what I mean? So if you practice the art of not caring, if you practice stoicism and become detached, you will produce you will not produce as much loose as you would produce if you were detached. I mean, if you were attached, you see. So I think it's very important to remain detached, because obviously we're not in a good realm. Like if we were in a good realm, being attached will be a good thing. That's what will be encouraged. I remember I gave you this example that if you are in a relationship with a person who's mistreating you, person who does not value you, obviously no one should advise you to be attached to that person, because that person is toxic, right? But if it's a person who is treating you very well and all that, maybe it's advised to be kind of attached. Like that's what people would say. Like if you were addicted to drugs, for an example, people would advise you to not be attached to these drugs. But if you're addicted to healthy food and you were eating healthy every day, you are addicted to a healthy lifestyle, obviously people will advise you to be attached to that. So this is not a good realm, so it's the kind of realm that we shouldn't be attached to. So a lot of things that be happening in this realm, we must remain detached. It's something that we have to teach ourselves, because we have gotten ourselves addicted to this, and that's one of the biggest problems. We've gotten ourselves very addicted to this. So if we're addicted to something, the only way to heal from that addiction is through detachment. There are a lot of things that you were addicted to that you're no longer addicted to, and you stop being addicted to these things because of detachment. So the more you do things that you're addicted on, the more you focus on things that you're addicted on, obviously you know what I'm saying? Obviously you become more and more addicted, you know. It's like if you're addicted to alcohol and you keep on drinking, it will get to a point where you shake when you're not even drinking. Why? Because you keep on giving energy to this thing that you're addicted. You see the problem? I'm enjoying these popcorns, man. Like someone says they're addicted to video games and they don't care. I mean, think about it. There's nothing wrong with being addicted to video games. It's like, what's bad about being addicted to video games? You know what I'm saying? There will always be video games, you know. So I wouldn't say, I mean, if in fact video games can make you detached from a lot of things of this world. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on video games. I'm just gonna play video games. I'm gonna become good at these video games, and I'm gonna keep on playing different video games. Some people would say you're wasting your life, right? That's what some people would say, as if they're doing something better. Like you're wasting your life. You know, why don't you do what I'm doing? And you pay attention to what they're doing, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Because it's like you're wasting your life too, and it's like you're wasting your life doing things that you don't even want to be doing. So at least I'm enjoying the video game. You know, you're wasting your life being fake. You're not even really, not even honest. It's like, what's better? What are you doing that's actually better? Because yeah, human beings are like that. They like to judge other people for the same things that they are doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like people judging you for the kind of sins that you commit, while they are also committing sins. They're not committing the same sins that you're committing, so they feel that they are better than you. But the real truth is that they're also sinning in their own way. So who's really better? They're just sinning differently. Do you get what I'm saying? It's crazy, but it's true. Do you think all those questions come from us individually, or more like solipsism, and we do not exist? Yeah, that's that's deep. Um, Here's what I would say: if you are in a dream, I mean, it's logical to think that in your dream you are the only one who's conscious. Dream characters can ask you questions that you've never even thought of. They can even say things that you've never even thought of. They can even make music that you can't make. I've had a dream where this other dream character, I was in a battle with this dream character, like a rap battle. Guy was murdering me, bro. Like some of the craziest bars that I've ever heard, right? So if solipsism is true, then yeah, it will mean that these questions are coming from like deep within your subconscious, because it seems like consciousness is able to hide the truth from itself, right? The same way that when you're dreaming, you don't know the truth. You don't know that, oh, I'm sleeping in a bed and you know I have this problem, that problem. It feels real. So consciousness is capable of hiding truth from itself. So it means consciousness hide a lot from itself. And that will be brought back when you are having an experience and you just think that these things are new, but it's just something that consciousness is hiding from itself. We don't know what happens after death. I don't. trust any explanation. And it's very good to be skeptical, but I think at some point we need to take a leap of faith, try to figure out what really, really, really makes sense. Right. Like no one can really convince you that they know the truth about what happens after we die. Even if they did know the truth, you might find that you've heard the truth many times, but because you're too skeptical, you never know what is actually true. And again, we can't know for sure in this realm, but there are things that actually make sense. So it's good to, whether you trust the explanation that people come up with about what happens after death, there's always something that you can, that you can start to understand from just listening to their explanation. Right. It might unlock something within, you see. So that's what's beautiful about listening to other people. You're not listening to other people as if they have all the answers, but you're listening to them to unlock something within that consciousness might have been hiding from you. Ever listen to a person and you start to, gain this new deep insights, but if you were just only thinking, by yourself, and that's it, you don't even, you don't want to hear other people's perspectives. It's all about what you think and all of that. Obviously, um you wouldn't know some of the things that you wouldn't understand some of the things that you'll understand. So yeah, it is true, no one knows what really happens after death, but there are some explanations that make more sense than other explanations. Sometimes you can listen to a person telling you what they think happens after death, and you'd be like, okay, that's just nonsense, bro. Like, but then you can listen to another person explaining to you what they think happens after death, and you find that it really makes sense. So I go for what I think makes sense, not what I prefer to be true, but what I think makes sense. And that's what we're focusing on this channel, is what really makes sense. When we try to, does this theory make sense? Like if we try to question this theory, are we able to ridicule this theory? Are we able to make it like to falsify this theory? And if we're unable to falsify it, yes, there's a chance that it might be truth, because of course the truth won't be falsifiable. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, no one knows what happens when we die, but obviously someone has told you what happens after we die. Obviously someone has told you. So it's good to be skeptical, but don't be too skeptical that you will never even be able to realize the truth. I think because no one is going to confirm to us what's going on, yeah, we will need to kind of like take a leap of faith. So we'll have to go with what really makes sense, and then we take a leap of faith, you know? It's like if you were dreaming. I remember I told you guys that I had a dream where I was explaining to the dream characters that I was dreaming, and they kept on saying, "No, you're not dreaming." Blah 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 blah. But I kind of like took the leap of faith. It's like, no, no, it's a dream. I think I'm dreaming. I think I'm dreaming for real. And then I ended up waking up. This reminds me of the ending of Atlanta. If you watch the TV series Atlanta, you know, one of the characters, like the whole show, it seems like the whole show was a dream. Actually, the last episode is called "It Was Just a Dream." So he tells his friend that, I'm dreaming. Maybe it's just my dream, and we're just in it, and it's always been that way. And these friends thought he was crazy, but he was very, he seems certain, because of the experiences that he had. It's like, no, maybe it's just a dream. So sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. Do I believe in non-duality, reality shifting and manifesting? All right. I've listened to a lot of non-dualist teachers, like Robert Spear. I think is like one of the most famous non-dualist teachers. Um, I would say they make a lot of sense. My only problem is that none, like all of them, are against the idea of solipsism, and I think solipsism makes more sense than non-duality. Like, this is not about it being true or not. It's about what makes sense. So I'm saying non-duality makes sense, but what makes more sense than non-duality is solipsism. So some of non-dualist teachers, uh, they it's like they are solipsists, but they don't want to admit it, or they don't want solipsism to be true because they are teachers. You see, it's like if I'm a solipsist, who am I teaching? Type of thing. So I think that's the thing. It's something that someone like Robert Sparrow, is dealing with. You know, and solipsism is something that you can easily ridicule. Like if someone says that the only conscious being in the universe, you can make fun of them in so many different ways, right? Even if you say that in your dream that you're the only conscious being in your dream characters will be able to make fun of you in a lot of ways. In fact, they'll make your life hell in a dream if you told them that you were the only one who's conscious, even though that is true, right? The truth doesn't always mean that you're going to experience good things. So I think that's why. Okay, so yeah, the question was, do I believe in non-duality? The answer is that I think it makes sense, but I think what makes sense more than non-duality is solipsism. I don't remember the second question, but the third question is, do I believe in manifestation? Like, can you manifest the kind of life that you want? I would say that you don't manifest anything by assuming it. Just because you assume that you're going to make it doesn't mean that you're going to make it. There are people who genuinely believe that they were going to become something and didn't become these things, and there are people who didn't really believe that they're going to become these things and they became these things, right? There are artists who didn't think they can make it, bro. They were just making music, like, I don't know, it's just for fun. And then their song trended. They'd be like, wow, this works. I didn't think that. And the people who genuinely believe they were good enough, like, I can do this, like, this is gonna work. Like, they gave up everything. Like, you know what? I'm not even gonna go to school. I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go to university. I'm done with all of that. I'm just gonna buy music equipment. I'm just gonna sit in my room and start producing. And yeah, it's gonna work out. And it didn't work out. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not. People are just trying to make money teaching people about manifesting and all of that. Like, oh, just assume. You attract what you are, blah blah blah. So you have to assume that you are what you want to attract. Blah. It doesn't work that way, man. It doesn't work. You cannot manifest Rihanna, bro, if you're just a bum in the street. But I just want you all to get that. Um, However, and this is very important. This is very very important to realize, right? If and this is something that I've been working on. If you find yourself in a situation where you can get positive results or negative results, act in ways that are going to make it easy for you to get positive results. Does that make sense? Meaning that you believing that you can get positive result will help you perform better than if you believe that you will not get positive result, right? So you act as if you're going to get positive result. So it's not like something magically happens because you have this positive mindset and whatever. No, there's no magic. It's just that with the right attitude you can perform better, if that makes sense. Or do I believe in psychics, that they can actually predict the future? No, I don't. I think people are full of shit. Uh, there have been so many famous psychics that were exposed in the end. Every time when someone tried to investigate whether what they're doing is real or not, there was this guy. What was his name, man? He's an old guy. He used to be a magician. Just that I forgot his name. He used to expose these people. He was like, you know what, man? Listen, he's kind of rich. He was like, I'm only gonna give people 1 million. Like, listen, if you can prove to me that you have some superpowers, I will give you 1 million. If you're a magician and you can perform a trick and I'm not able to see how you perform, I'm gonna give you 1 million. If you're a psychic, you can predict the future, and we prove that you predicted the future, I'm gonna give you 1 million. No one wanted 1 million. Why? So yes, sometimes you can predict the future, not because you have superpowers, because, well, sometimes you can. Hamza Chimaev is fighting Duplessis on Saturday. I'm betting my money on Hamzat. If Hamzat wins, will it mean that I predicted the future? I'm saying the guy is going to win. And if you watch the fight and he wins, will it mean that I predicted the future and have some superpowers? No, I can guess what's going to happen. You know. So if I have a lot of clients, let's say my channel was based on that, like predicting the future and all of that, and a lot of your guys were asking me, yo, what's going to happen? You know, what's going to happen in my life within the next before the year ends. And I say, well, you're gonna meet the right girl, you're gonna meet the right girl for you, and she's gonna be like this, and one of you will. Like I've seen, like there's these people on like these psychics on TikTok, right? What they do is they will be holding cards, and they'll say something like, "Okay, I'm sensing that there is someone who, who misses you, you know. So this person, you and them were not in good terms, or you didn't agree on something. So uh, this person thinks about you all the time, and they want to come back into your life, and they don't know how to come back into your life. Yeah, of course, there's going to be a lot of people who relate to that, because all of us have that in our lives. You've had a person that you've lost that you didn't want to lose. You have a person that you want this person to miss you, and you wish that they missed you, and all of that. So of course that kind of content will have a lot of audience, but it doesn't mean that there is something supernatural that is happening. It just means that they make you feel good. There are some things that people say that just make you feel good, but it doesn't mean that these things are true. So people get it confused. You know what I'm saying? Oh, do I believe in reality shifting? Do I believe in reality shifting? um I do think that the way consciousness works is, it's possible to find yourself in an alternate reality. I'm not sure how that happens. I don't think it has a lot to do with your thoughts, and you don't even notice that. And sometimes you kind of remember how things were, right? So I think that's what they call reality shifting, but I don't think it's something that you consciously do. I think it's just something that has the same way that dreams happen. It's not like you sleep and you be like, okay, now I want to have a dream where I'm a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? You just have that dream and you're a billionaire. So it's kind of like the same thing. So yeah, I do believe we're shifting from different timelines, and we don't remember the past. The thing, what really happens is that once you are in a different timeline, the storyline is going to make sense, right? So you're going to believe that things have always been that way. You find that, but you come from another timeline when things were a bit different. So I would say, yeah, in this room, it kind of feels like things happen that way, and that's why a lot of people believe in what they call Mandela effect. So yeah, that does make sense to me. Ben, you sound like a Hindu. I closed my eyes and imagine said guru or someone else. I even watched said guru's videos in a very long time, but this I don't like. There's some like once a person become that famous, there'll be a lot of things that you just don't. Like you feel like maybe they are not like that real, but he has wisdom too. Like there's something that you can learn from someone like said guru. But I haven't watched his videos in like years now, so I had not thought about him. So I kind of like forgot totally that the guy exists. Probably check out his channel and see what he's up to. But yeah, what really scares me about life is immortality. I remember I've made a video like there's this song by McMill when is it McMill? Yeah, I think it's no, no, is it McMill or it's Future. When this song started, I forgot the name of the song, but he says there's only two things I'm scared of in life. I forgot what are those two things that they said he was scared of. So I also made a video where I was saying there's only two things I'm scared of in life: immortality and reincarnation and immortality. Yeah, but what really scares me more is immortality, or what we'll call quantum immortality. I would say maybe being stuck in this realm forever would be better than quantum immortality. And let me tell you why. Maybe it cannot get worse. And what do I even mean worse? Like, if you think about it, if you can experience life in other realms, right, it means that the Christian vision of hell would be possible. So really, if you are stuck here, yes, there's suffering. You already know how you suffer, but you're not gonna suffer way worse, like in a way that's too damn crazy. You get what I'm saying? Like the rules, the laws of this universe are we already know these laws. But can you imagine yourself in a universe where the laws were too different and the way you experience pain was way worse than you experience it now? And you live like every day you struggle way more than you'll struggle in this room. So that's why quantum immortality scares me more. Shifting to other realms where things are just much worse. So hopefully things ain't like that, because that is scary, bro. That is actually scary. What I would prefer is that this world is uh going to end one day, and life is going to end, and I'm going to be unconscious, or I'm going to wake up and realize what the whole thing was. But what's really scary is that it seems impossible. It seems like you never get to understand what you really are as consciousness. Like you could never be outside of yourself. So you never understand how reality is created, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and it's going to be like that forever. So that is really scary. I want to thank each and every person who joined. Um, Tell me what you think about the video in the actual comment of the video once it's published. It's actually the best live that I've ever done. If you have not liked the video, like the video. I like the fact that it already has 113 likes. So like the video, share the video, and tell me which parts were your favorite parts. um and if you want to join the next live, send me an email. It's bfamforever@gmail.com. You'll tell me if you want to join the next live. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you a link, right? So I'm going to create a link before I do my next live. So you will have access, you will be able to join at any point. I think that's how it works. Never really tried it, but I think that's how it works. So you'll be able to join. I'm going to also tell you more about the Discord thing, and I'm going to be the one who's going to be monitoring everything on Discord, because I want it to work this time. We'll have discussions. Like that's the whole point of it, is to have discussions together. Like you'd have like 7 8 people having a conversation. So I think that would be beautiful too. So I'm working on that. So yeah, thank you all guys for watching until the end. This was a very beautiful life.